more you do it, the easier it gets. None of us are total introverts. We can all step into that extrovert bit, but maybe not for a long period of time. You can do it for a short period and you build up the muscle and then it gets a bit stronger. And then next time it's a bit easy. The more we do it, the easier it gets.
Welcome back to Last First Date Radio, where we believe it is never too late to go on your last first date. And to support you on your journey to lasting love, I have written 3 books, and my 3rd book was recently published. It's called Love at Last, and these are true stories of falling in love later in life. I wrote this book because so many people had given up hope, and I want to restore hope that you can find love, and you can find all 3 books on Amazon for Kindle or paperback. Before I bring Denise on, I want to invite you to join my Facebook group. That's actually where I know Denise from. It's called Your Last First Date, and this is a group for mostly single people, but a lot of people become coupled off and get married and have live-in partners, and they stay in the group because it is so supportive and very boundaried, which is rare for groups out there for people who are single and over 40. And so if you're a woman, it's only for women, join us at Your Last First Date. And now for my guest, Dr. Denise Taylor. How do you make friends later in life? This is such an important topic, and she is going to share some helpful tips from her personal upheavals, like ending a long-term marriage, to undertaking spiritual quests and embracing significant lifestyle changes. Denise's personal experiences have enriched her empathy and understanding, making her a relatable and very effective coach. She works with people in mid to later life, and she helps them navigate the complexities of this transformative period. Welcome to the podcast, Denise.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you, and I'm excited about this topic because it comes up a lot and we don't talk about it enough. And you've written about this, and you had written about a term that you call friendship MOT. What is that, and why is it so important for our well-being?
Well, I don't know, because I'm in England, I don't know whether the terminology is different, the other side of the pond, as they say. But, our cars go in for an MOT after they're 3 years old. So every year, you're just checking that it's all okay. And they talk about health MOTs and career MOTs. So why not have a friendship MOT? And one of the really interesting things since doing my doctorate is people ask me to get involved with designing things. And an organization wanted a friendship MOT because they're an organization that promotes friendship. And what they really wanted was to get people to think about the different types of friends we have in our lives, because we can't just go for everything from one particular person. When I was married, I did everything with my husband, which meant that when I became separated, it's like, where's my friends? I haven't got one. So I had to learn to do it myself. And that's one of the things that the friendship MOT is talking about. It's like, have you got friends to cover 5 different areas?
What does MOT stand for?
In the UK, it's just, everybody knows it's something about motor transport. I think it's to do with motor transport because it started off with cars. So it's a motor transport review.
Okay, so these are like assessments, like you're going to take stock and review where you are in your life at different areas.
Different things. So going back to cars, are the brakes working? Are the tires okay? Things like that. And with friendship, it's like, have we got enough people in our lives? Because I think, as I said, when I was married, everything was done with my husband, and we were a very close couple till we weren't. And then when we think about I think at any part of our life, whether we're in a couple or not, we need to have a wider range of people. And we need to think like, well, have I got somebody that is I can do stuff with, have I got somebody that I can go to the football match with, or I can go to my yoga class with, or I can go to my art class. So I want somebody that I can do a hobby with. And that's a really useful thing to do.
There's a correlation to dating, because I think a lot of people expect one partner to be everything. And a lot of experts out there talk about this, that we can't expect one person to fill every need, that it's important to have friends and to have activities and things outside of your significant relationship. You talk about something called friend slip factor. What is that?
So the friend slip factors, often, we have our friends from school days, maybe at university, maybe from when we were mum at the school day gate. And we can lose touch. They move away, you move away, you're too focused on the new love of your life or the new job. And suddenly you realize, I had friends and where have they all gone? And we've just let them slip away. And I think just like plants, we need to nurture our friendships. And I think it's when you realize you haven't got any or stuff like this has happened that you realize it's something that you want to do. And I think linking it to relationships, you get all loved up and, and you just want to spend all your time with your new relationship. And then you don't see your friends and, you always got an excuse not to see them. And then, at some stage when you want your friends again, they've moved on because you weren't there for them. So I think, the age group that we're in particular, it's really important that we're nurturing our friendships and not letting them slip away and thinking about what's happened in the past and how we can change things and nurture them, look after them.
Sometimes they grow apart for good reasons, though. I mean, I think that as we grow as people, we don't always want to nurture these relationships, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I can actually think of a personal example. I live in an apartment block and there's a woman here and all she ever does is moan. And I have just decided she moaned once too often. And I just, yeah, I mean, I'll be on good morning terms with her, but I think I need to change the relationship because she's just negative all the time. I thought back and I thought, actually, I can't think of when she last said anything positive about anybody. And I think yeah, of course, sometimes we do want to let people go and sometimes they don't want to let us go. So that's a challenge in itself. Again, like relationships, when you're trying to end it with someone and they're going, I'll change, I'll be different. And they won't.
Yeah. And I've also found that I used to be very extreme, like they're not my friends anymore. I've moved away, and these people are just kind of stuck. They have a victim mentality, like the moaner that you talked about. But I have friends who are like sisters because I've known them for so long. And we have a very different relationship. Like I don't spend a lot of time with them, but I still stay in touch with them because I love them like a sister. But they can drive
Mm.
me crazy if I spend too much time. So, what about people like that? What do you think?
Yeah, it's very much like family, isn't it? It's about decide. And what I've always loved about your group is about the boundaries, about boundaries in relationships and in its widest sense. So if you find somebody drives you crazy, well, then you need to think about time bounding the amount of time that you spend with them. And maybe you're better off to meet them at a coffee shop than to invite them to your home when you find out that they never want to leave. Or if you do go, I should say in America, out of state to go and visit somebody, it's like, I'm going to stay in a hotel. I know you've said I can stay, but you just think, I need a bit of separation between them. So I think we want to stay in touch with some people, but we can review it and it doesn't have to be full on. It can be what works for us. And maybe, it's you meet for an afternoon, you stop doing the girls' weekends because they're now into drinking so much and you're not. And those lifestyle changes can mean our friendship groups change as well.
Yeah, those are good tips to set those boundaries. I see so many people who somebody shows up in some way all the time, like they're annoying, they're victimy, they drink too much, whatever it is, and you still go away for that weekend with them, and you come back and go, oh, I can't believe it, they were so annoying, they drank too much. Like people show up, they are who they are, and we can complain about it or we can do something about it. So set those boundaries, know your own personal boundaries, and don't expect people to be different than they are. If you set those boundaries and they don't respect them or they are just very different from you, I think we need to really take that into consideration.
Yeah. And sometimes, those sort of people, it's nice to spend limited amounts of time with them, just the limited amount of time, because a smaller amount is enough.
Yeah, kind of like family, right?
Yeah.
Just enough, and then I'm out. So you suggest that people ask themselves five key questions in your friendship MOT. What are those questions?
I'm really interested in this sort of thing, and I used it in my own life. And the first one, as I was saying earlier, is like, have I got somebody to do stuff with? And it might be you need more than one person because I'm really into live music. So friends to go to live music with and somebody to go on, active holidays with, and there's different people. So you've got that area. And I think we also need somebody that we can confide in. When our partner's driving us crazy or when we never feel we're going to get another date. And we just want somebody who will listen to us. But with that, it can't be you're always going there to seek their counsel. So it's got to be a bit of two-way, and you've got to listen back to them as well. And then we need to think about who makes us happy. So rather than the people that just moan all the time, who are the people that once you spent time with them, you come away and you think, I just feel lighter. They're just so nice to have somebody like that. And then I think it's useful to think about people in your community. So I said I live in an apartment, and it was nice when I had a friend who lived in the same block as me. There are other people that I chat with in this block, but I think it's nice if you can be doing things in your community, and that might be to do with some sort of volunteering and some sort of community activity. So the people that live nearby, and then the final group is whatever age you are. Have you got people that are of a different age group? So, if you're 50, have you got friends 65 plus? Have you got friends 35 and below? Because that is something that you find a lot about is people just stay with people like them. And then, the way they view the world is in a similar sort of way. So when I've got my really young friends, in their 20s, they have a very different take on a whole range of stuff. So it's useful just to get their view. So I'm not sort of like in an echo chamber of just people like me.
I love that. And I'm somebody who always cultivated people of all ages. I just naturally gravitate towards people who have similar values, similar interests. And especially when I was part of a synagogue community, I was involved with people of all ages. And I think that's important. We have it's not a homeowners association, but we have a small community here of people who are connected in my neighborhood through a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
And it's so lovely because even though I don't know a lot of them personally, they reach out and help each other. Anybody have any extra cilantro? Does anybody have the ability to help me out with babysitting? I mean, it's just lovely to know that people support each other because so many people live in neighborhoods where nobody talks to each other today. It's very easy to do that.
It's like that in the UK as well. So, just having a range of people, and then you've got different people to do interest with. And I think this really helps with dating because it's not like you're trying to get the man who's going to be everything to you. Because, let him go off and do his hobbies, ride his bicycle all weekend or go on his motorbike or something. And you can go and do the things that bring you joy and meaning and do it with other people. And then you've both got something to bring back. Because
Yeah.
otherwise everything's it's just you two and there's nothing new that you're bringing
Or if
in.
one person is busy and the other one isn't, that also
Yeah.
can create a problem. I remember when my mom got remarried, she had a full life. She was still working and she married a man who was retired. And he wasn't, I don't think he lived in her area before either. So he didn't really have friends yet. He didn't have a community. And she had everything. And she felt like suffocated by his desire to have her be his everything. And you've got to cultivate these interests. So, how can people do that? I know that, I'm sure you have many suggestions for how people can find ways to connect with people.
I mean, because sometimes people have just lost confidence. And I think a lot of this happened with COVID. People stopped going out and stopped wanting to meet new people. And you have to put yourself out there. And it can be really scary because, it's like dating and approaching somebody, you don't want to be rejected. But there's this research that says that people think friendship just happens organically. You don't have to put any effort in, you're just going to make friends. And it doesn't. It doesn't. You have to put yourself out there, just like when you're dating. If you just sit there and wait and hopefully someone's going to ask you out, well, you'll be waiting a long time, won't it? So I go to the gym a lot and I talk to people in the sauna a lot. And that's one of the ways, you get chatting and I've had coffee with people afterwards and I've gone to a gig with a man I met in the sauna. It's like, and he was like 30 years younger than me. So I think more, his mother had died. So I think I'm more that rather than, rather than the older woman, or that's how I saw it as. But I think it's looking for opportunities. And, and women tend to be better listeners, but not always. So, it's like we think when we're thinking of dating, it's about listening, asking open questions, listening to people and hearing what they have to say, and then just remembering some of those things so that when you meet next time and they'll think, she was listening, she heard me say, and then you can build up things that way. It's really, well, it's a lot easier to make friends if you're doing something. So I'm in a comedy group, so it's easy to make friends through that because we're doing something together. Um, and it might be that you're doing walking netball or some other group activity or book club where you talk to each other. So that's easier than maybe going to a yoga class where people don't really say much. They just turn up, put the mat down, and go home. So it's looking for opportunities and being open and like being smiley and approachable rather than scowling and scary, because nobody's going to come to you if you're that sort of person.
It's so true. And I speak to so many people at the gym who say, nobody ever talks to me. And I say to them, have you ever tried to talk to them? And I went over to a woman after class. Was taking Zumba, and I asked this woman what her name was. And she said, I came here to make friends. I just haven't made any. And I'm like, you got to make that effort. Like it's people don't realize also having AirPods or headphones on, you're totally blocking people out. It's really hard to talk to people if they're in their own world. And I think even just smiling at anybody, anywhere. I mean, I walk in my neighborhood a lot, and I know the person who walks this dog, and I know the person who stopped and talked about buying a new car. And it's just making eye contact, talking to people, and you just don't know where things are going to go.
No, and it's sometimes it's like, they're okay, but then you meet them somewhere and they've got other friends and you really hit it off with them. So, one contact can lead to other things. Yeah, and I think, if we're thinking about friendships, we're also thinking about, possible romantic friendship as well. It's nice when you're at the gym, and what I found is a couple of times I've not been able to adjust the equipment because some equipment needs changing and it's just a bit stiff. And both times I've asked men to do it, and now I always say hello to them as well. And they do tend to be younger men at this time of day I go. But if I was looking for another man, it's like they might have an uncle or a father or somebody.
Yeah, I actually was thinking about that because I there's this cute guy at the gym who always works out looking into the window of the yoga class that I take and the Pilates class. And we often smile at each other, we wave to each other. I've never had a conversation with him because I'm either running out to get back to work or doing something. And I'm just like, I'm waiting for that day when I have enough time to actually make eye contact, introduce myself, and it takes courage to do that. But it's what are you risking? You're just saying hi. You're not really doing anything more than that.
No, and you can say about meeting for coffee or meeting for juice or going for a walk, or there's a
Hmm.
whole range of things you can do, but it's being open. And I think often when people are coming out of a relationship, maybe all the friends were group friends. And so a bit like me, you've got to start again. With me, one person introduced me to another, introduced me to another. And it sort of snowballed. And when my last book came out, They were all there at my book launch party. And I was saying,
Oh,
Jeffrey was the first person I met. And he introduced me to Helen, and Helen introduced me to Kate, and Kate introduced me to, and it was like this whole about 12 people, and they all were a connection from somebody else. And they didn't all know each other. But I've always looked back on that and thought, if I hadn't met Jeffrey and he hadn't introduced me to Helen, would I have made friends with all these other people?
oh, I love that. And that's how a lot of dating happens as well. I think
Yeah,
that I remember somebody I worked with had gone to a meetup for hiking. And I don't know, do you have meetups in England? You
yeah,
do? Yes. So meetups are wonderful because you can enter all the interests you have and find groups that meet in your area. And she was part of a hiking meetup, I think. And she met a lot of lovely women. And one of the women had a Thanksgiving dinner and seated her next to a guy who ended up becoming her husband. The guy was not in the meetup. He was the friend
yeah,
of the friend. And so this is definitely a domino effect where you meet people who introduce you, but you have to come out of your shell. Like a lot of people will say, but I'm so introverted and I'm so shy and I that's just not me. Well,
yeah.
it's not a lot of people. It wasn't me for sure. I was the quiet one. And you just know how amazing it is when you just smile at somebody, ask them how their day is going, just talk to people. People love it because so few people do.
Yeah. And listen, there's sometimes you just need three or four questions, open questions that you can ask people. And what I mean, I'm a psychologist, and what I'll often do when I get up on stage, which I loathe, I really hate being on stage, but I get asked to do it. And I have to do it. And it's like to get into role, close my eyes, self-talk and all of that. And it's like, just for this 20 minutes or however long it's going to be, I will be this more outgoing version of me. I don't try and be somebody that I'm not, but it's just, I step into the space. And I think that's what we should do when we're plucking up the courage. It's like nip into the loo and, stand up straight and shoulders back and something. And then you just come out and you can say it. And then you can go back into be a bit of a wobble. It's like, did I really do that? But the more you do it, this is what I'm always saying to my clients. The more you do it, the easier it gets, and none of us are total introverts. We can all step into that extrovert bit, but maybe not for a long period of time. You can do it for a short period and you build up the muscle and then it gets a bit stronger. And then next time it's a bit easy. The more we do it, the easier it gets.
For sure. I mean, I think anytime you step out of your comfort zone, which is this for a lot of people, you're fearing rejection, you're fearing like I used to have this idea that I was the outsider. Like I would
Mm,
go into new situations. I think everybody knows each other already. Like when I started going back to the gym, I'm like, all these people have been going to the gym forever, and I'm the newbie, and nobody cares, and nobody's going to want to open their group to me. And I remember in the beginning feeling really like people would just cluster in groups when they would get into class. And so I just started pushing myself into the group and saying hi. And I admit it was so awkward. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Amazon Music Unlimited. You can listen to over 70 million songs and thousands of playlists and stations. Plus, you can now stream your favorite podcasts like Last First Date Radio. You can listen to any song, anytime, anywhere, on any of your devices. Get Amazon Music Unlimited for free for 30 days. Just head on over to getamazonmusic.com/last first date to learn more and claim this offer. You talk about the importance of casual check-ins, hanging out. Is this what you mean by like how it improves our social health by helping us to make it easier? Are there other benefits to doing that?
yeah. I mean, the casual check-in is just like sending. I've really got in, doing my doctorate, I really got into research and finding out more about different things. And as I was sort of researching everything about friendship, there's this thing called the casual check-in, which is just sending a text message or a WhatsApp message saying like, oh, I was watching something on TV and I just thought of you. And it doesn't have to be It doesn't have to be anything much at all, but people really like that. And we can often think, oh, I haven't spoken to Sophie for like 8 months, oh, I can't just get in touch. So we put it off and we put it off. But it's like, hey, Sophie, how are you doing? Just thinking of you. And Sophie gets it. She goes like, oh, isn't that nice? Denise or Sandy was thinking of me. And they get a warm glow. And then, they might not necessarily pick up the phone, but that's a useful thing to do. And the other useful thing to do is about just hanging out. Because when you're kids and when you're teenagers and you just go and hang out and you're lying on each other's bed and just not doing anything really, it's just like maybe listening to some music and talking about boys or makeup. We don't do enough of that because we always think it has to be a purpose. We're meeting somebody, we're going to go for a meal, we're going to go for coffee, we're going to go for a walk. And one of the things you can do is like phone at your friend and go like, hey, I'm just going to get petrol. So I'm just thinking, is petrol just a UK term? Anyway, I'm just,
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
that's
going to
okay. We get it.
I'm just going to fill the car up. Do you want to come with me? Or I'm just nipping around the supermarket. Do you want to come with me? And you think, would anybody really want to do that? And they do. This miserable neighbour of mine, I used to say, I'm going to the railway station to pick up a ticket. Do you want to come with me? And I used to often do stuff like that with her. And that's a really useful thing to do. It's like, it doesn't have to be major. Or I'm just nipping into town. I'll just call in for 10 minutes on my way in to say hi. So those are what's really useful to do more and more of those little things, because the more contact we have with people, the more it improves our social health. And there's this really interesting statistic that being lonely is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And that's your US medical general who says that. Being lonely is just so bad for your health. But there is a difference between being lonely and being comfortable alone, because if you're comfortable alone, that's fine. But it's the people who, sit there and go like, nobody ever talks to me. Nobody ever does this. And clearly they should be doing something as well. But they're the ones that, their mental and physical health are taking a right knock because of all of just not having friends and just feeling so sad and lonely. So we all want to try and do something before we sink that low, because otherwise we sink so low, we're into this depression, and it's really hard then to pull yourself up out of it.
Yeah, it's really true. And it's also easy to take that first step. As scary as it is, that first step will help people get out of that loneliness and feeling like everybody has friends but me. I think that a lot of people feel that way and they really don't know what to do. I mean, even my daughter, who's turning 30, she had her small group of friends that she knew when she moved to another city. But I kept encouraging her because she got interested in running to join a running club. And it turned out she really likes the people there because a lot of them are fairly introverted. They're really nice people. I mean, most people run in an isolated way and they're alone. And so being able to have people to also talk about like what's the best shoe to buy? What do you
Mm.
use for long distance running? How do you build up your resistance? All of these things are going to be things that you're going to learn when you hang out with these people. So I think also maybe taking away the pressure of this person has to become my new best friend. Because I think, we mentioned casual interactions, they're just as important as those deeper friendships, right?
Yeah, yeah. And when you said about meetup groups, and that's how I made my first friend through a meetup group, and then I got involved with another one. Um, and I think when we join meetup groups, a lot of them, probably not all of them, but when you're new, they'll spend time introducing you to people. And you've got something in common. Maybe it's a meetup group about, you're all talking about something to do with a particular topic, or it's running, or it's visiting art galleries or something together. But you've got a topic then, because otherwise you think, what is it that I can talk about? But if you're going to see a new exhibition, then you can have looked up, Vermeer or Monet or whoever it happens to be, and at least you've got something to say about it. Or have you ever, and if you don't know the questions to ask, just use AI and ask AI to give you 5 questions, 5 open questions that you can ask on whatever it is that you're about to go doing.
Good idea.
That would be
Really
a
good.
lot.
Yeah. AI is useful if
Yeah.
you know how to use it. So it's absolutely, I love that. You also say that this is a kind of a staggering statistic. It takes 80 to 100 interactions to make a friendship. How can people stay motivated if they're
Oh,
really building this 80 to 100 times?
I know it's terrible. It's terrible, is it? Right. So that's to like a really good close friend. So you've got to build up with it. And so if you're going to your Pilates class twice a week, then that's 2 hours a week, and you're building up that way. Um, but if we think about when we're at school or at university or at work, we're with those people for hours every day. And so it's easy to like build up the hours. It's when we're only seeing somebody once a month that it's hard. So then you need to sometimes take it out of that. And I met two friends through a ladies in lunch group, sort of. And then we started meeting every month. So it was only monthly. But I don't think everybody needs to take 100 hours. And it depends. And obviously it's different. And if you're both really interested in building a relationship, then it's going to be much quicker. But yeah, that's another one of these research facts.
Yeah, it's
Um,
really interesting. I think that like I met a woman at Zumba when I first started, and she and I had great conversations while we were walking to our cars. So every single time we probably spend like 20 minutes just standing and talking. And we noticed when the other person isn't there, and we started reaching out to each other. I missed you today. Everything okay? Or I don't really feel motivated to go. Oh, just come. I'll be there, you know. So it's already starting to become a friendship, even though we've never done anything outside of Zumba. She is somebody I really care about, and I've gotten to know over a few months. And so I think just even those small conversations, you find out a lot about a person. If somebody's looking to take one action step today to improve their friendships, what would you say?
I think it's about be willing to go for it. Just be out there, be open with your posture and facial expressions and everything, and just be open and say, as we were talking about, just say hi. Just say hi. How are you? What do you think of wherever you happen to be? Because it only just takes one step. And if the other person just blanks you, nothing's lost. You could just try something the next day. But it does help in many cases if it's something that you're really passionate about or interested in. So, because then you're going to keep on going back.
Yeah, and use AI to get those questions. It's so much like dating, Denise. This is like it's because I think people go into dating with that same pressure of each person I interact with has to be the one. And what if you just made a friend? I think that it is important. I think we have to see the benefit of just improving our social health by having more friends.
Yeah, and it's certainly not about they've all got to be close friends who we do everything together. And I think, especially as we're getting older, we want a wider range of people because people will move on in different ways. Their health will change. They'll go and move to be near grandchildren or their elderly parents or something. Because you don't want to just have two or three close friends and then suddenly they're all off. And you've got to start again. So it's really helpful to be part of a group because then you've got these more looser ties that each of them is always bubbling under. And any of them you could put a bit more effort in and it's like move them up. But I do think it's useful to think about the quality of friendships that we have. So we have got people, in those 5 different areas, that you have got somebody that you can confide in and brings you joy and that you can do different things with. So that then you're not looking for the man that you meet to do all these different things. And when he wants to go and spend the weekend doing whatever he wants to do, that's absolutely fine because you can do your thing as well.
Yeah, I remember on NPR there was a program about the different types of friendships that we have and the importance of those weaker ties, the ones where we know the person in the coffee shop and they know your name, or the person you pass who walks their dog every day. Even though you're not close friends, it's something that we lost during COVID. And I
Mm.
think that having those, it's really valuable. And so Not everybody's going to be in our inner circle of closest friends, but we can rebuild our friendship network at any stage of life. And this has just been a really valuable conversation. Denise, is there anything that I have not asked you that you would like to share?
The most important thing is also thinking about what sort of friend are we? Okay, so what
Mm.
sort of friend are we? Are we the sort of person that people want to be with? Do we want to be that person that's, Ms. Negative, um, and can always think about the reasons why something's not going to work? Because people, they'll pull up, that's absolutely fine every now and again. Our car's broken down and we missed this appointment, this, that, and the other. Everybody's going to have a moan every now and again. But we don't really want to be the person that is just super negative, because then people won't want to spend time with you. So I think it's monitor that and be a friend that is there for other people. Listen, but then don't be taken overly advantage of. You don't want to be seen as somebody's therapist and they just phone you up to offload on it, because I think we're all looking for balance. We're looking for balance in our friendship groups, and we're each giving over the course of a period of time. We're all given the right sort of, they listen and you listen. It's not always you moaning about why you can't get a man, or your friend saying, look, it's so bad, like just leave him, and you just carry on month after month after month.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. And can you tell our audience how they can find you?
Given that my focus is much more on careers and meaningful lives rather than relationships, but I think that's all part of life. So my website is amazingpeople.co.uk. I'm based in the UK, so that's my website. And one of the things that, if people are interested in this friendship MOT, it's not on my website, but it's on another website, and I don't have the full proper login details on me, but it's a really simple one. You can go through some questions, and I think it is quite useful to do something like that, just to help you identify, is there a gap, and do I want to fill it? So I'll make sure that you have the link for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Denise, for coming on the show and sharing this important information, because friendships are such an essential part of our lives in general, and it enhances our love life as well.
And thank you for inviting me. And I've been a member of your group for at least 2 years, probably longer than that. And it was a friend who said, you really need to join Sandy's group. And I've recommended you to two of my clients, who are both now looking for love in their 60s. And it's like, Sandy's great to work one-to-one with, but the whole group is just such a great community. So yeah, I'm just like so pleased that I came across you back then.
Well, I'm so pleased you're part of the group and that you came across my group and that you're now sharing and spreading the news, just like friendships. It works the same way. So thank you, Denise. And thanks everybody for listening. If you love our show, please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Follow the show, share it with friends. And as always, here's to your last first date. If you are ready to get unstuck, gain new tools, become more empowered, and finally find your last first date, I'd love to talk to you. Fill out an application to be considered for a complimentary half-hour love breakthrough session at lastfirstdate.com/application.